Welcome back to our Mastt tutorial series. I'm Jake, and today we're exploring how to manage contracts in Mastt. The contracts module is where all your project commitments will live, allowing you to track contracts, their line items, and also linking them to appropriate budgets. So the contracts form the backbone of your project's financial commitments, so it's really important to set them up correctly so you can accurately track the finances of your projects. When you're on the contract page, you just click on this Add New Contract button up in the top here. So this will open up the contract form just here. There are a couple of different ways you can fill in data. The first way is you can go through and utilize our new autofill from PDF feature. This uses a PDF that you might have from your contractor consultant, and it will try and extract as much information as it can to fill in the details. So for example, I've got just an example one here. If I click and drag that up to there into the AI drop zone, what will happen is it will go through and analyze the actual contract, pull out as much relevant information as it can, and go through and add it in. It depends on how big the actual contract is. It might take differing amounts of time, but essentially it will go through and try and identify the best options for what it is there. So as you can see, it's given it a name, it's pulled out a contract standard, assigned everything to a budget, we've got the approval date, and it's also started to fill in the contract roles, as you can see. Now, a lot of this really depends on the actual contract that you provide it with. If the information doesn't exist, it can't go through, fill it in. But again, with anything, it's always important to go through and just confirm that everything is all accurate. There we go. So that's the easiest way to go through and add in a contract. Just clicking and dragging it directly into the drop zone, and AI will try and fill it in. But what if we don't want to do that? What if we don't have a PDF version to go through and do it? You can also enter it all in manually. So when you're going through and you're adding in a contract, first thing you need to do is just enter in the name of the contract. It should just be descriptive, like the discipline and the contractor and the scope of work. Next to it, we have got the contract standard breakdown, and this is really important for the payment certificates and payment letters you can get out in the payment module, which we'll get into in a couple of videos. We've got standards for Australia, New Zealand, the US, and also some general options like purchase order, consultant, and contractor. And so you just select the one that's most relevant to you. If you've got a contract standard you'd like us to add in, reach out to Mastt support so we can go through and add it in for you. Next, you've got the budget assignment option here. So this is which budget the entire contract will live under. You can also assign individual line items to different budgets as needed, which we'll get into in a little bit. You can then also enter in the PO number and the date the contract was approved. Once a contract standard has been selected, it will enable these roles and terms fields. Under the contract roles, it is going to ask you for who the principal is, who the contractor is, and who the project manager is. The principal is primarily like a client or owner, and then contractor, or depending on the actual contract standard you select, it could also be consultant, and then also the project manager. Now, one of the important things is that we've got this toggle here, which will be superintendent, principal person, whoever is, depending on, it really depends on the line, the wording of the actual contract standard, but that's the person who will go through and approves payments, who certifies payments. And then after that, under terms, this is where we've got things like what is the payment clause under the contract. For Australian contracts, what's the Security of Payment Act jurisdiction? What is the GST percentage or sales tax percentage? And this is where you can go through and put in any specific things for your contract. And again, this is more designed for your payment letters at the end. As you can see, we've also got these retention and variation terms. Those are still in development, and we'll have more updates on that when they are released. Now, Underneath that, we then have got our line items. So you can go through and add in individual line items just by giving it a name, setting an amount. And then you, as mentioned, you can also put individual line items into different budgets. That's one way that you can go through and do that. As we go across, you then have also got the status if it's approved. Once it does need to be approved, because otherwise you will not be able to make payments against it. It just won't show up in the payment module because it's a not approved contract. They can also be draft, which is they don't actually appear anywhere else in the system. They don't have any financial impact. Pending, that is, they will appear in the uncommitted column, and then closed, you won't be able to make any payments against it. So as we go across, you also have a completion date over here, which is more for EOT variations. And then across here, you've got a trash icon. This allows you to go through and just delete specific line items. As opposed to manually entering all the information, you can also copy and paste columns directly from Excel. So as opposed to manually entering things, you can go through and copy the two columns and just paste it directly in. And if you're unsure, if you click this button just here, it will give you a guide on exactly how to do this. One of the other things that you can do is you can also add in contract sections. And so contract sections are more designed to help you organize your contract based on like if they've got separable portions. And so that's where you can go through and add in a section, which will go through and allow you to have different parts of the contract in different sections. So if they span different phases, they've got different components, like if your contractor is handling the early works and main construction, you might want to have an early works section and a main construction section. And it's always best to fully replicate the actual contract breakdown. So that's what the sections are for. And you can also click and drag them all by using these drag handles around. And you can also add in sections underneath sections. So you can really go very, very deep and assign things to lots of different areas if you would like. Now, as we go down to the very bottom, you then have the notes section and also an attached file section. So you can upload attachments, like say, for example, you've got the signed contract document, or you want to add any notes specific to this contract, you can add those in there. And if you are using the AI upload feature, it will automatically add whatever you uploaded into this attached files area. And once you're done, you just hit add to go through and add this contract in. I haven't filled anything in, so I'm just going to cancel this here. There we go. So once it's done, it'll appear in this contracts module just here. But if you want to make changes to an existing contract, you can click on the three dots and go through and edit the contract. That will bring up the same form. You can go through and make any changes. And you can also go through and delete a contract. However, you can't delete any contracts got payments or variations attached to them. You need to delete those first. But for example, this test consultancy agreement, I can click on the three dots and hit delete because there are no payments or anything against it. But for this PM consultant contract, I can't because it's already got payments and variations associated with it. So I need to delete those first before I can delete the contract. Cool. So that's how you can create and manage contracts in Mastt. So by properly setting up your contracts with the right terms, roles, line items, not only will you have a solid foundation for tracking your project's actual spend, but it will simplify the actual payment process and allow you to get some really awesome and beautiful letters out at the end to simplify the amount of work that you have to do. And with the AI upload feature, the amount of work you will need to do to get your actual contracts up into Mastt is significantly reduced. In our next video, we're going to be having a look at how to manage variations on these contracts as your project changes. So thank you so much for watching.